Hi, today I'm talking about the Beethoven Sonata, Opus 31 No. 2, also as known as Tempest Sonata. This is Beethoven's only piano sonata in the key of D minor, also the key of his Ninth Symphony, Ode to Joy. The Symphony No. 9 is a choral symphony, and for the last movement, it has lyrics. It's not very usual in a symphony. It was composed between 1822 and 1824, 20 years before this sonata. Ode to Joy represents the triumph of universal brotherhood against war and disseparation. Indeed, Beethoven himself put to music a poem that phrases and wishes for freedom and peace between all peoples. That might have a similar meaning for this Tempest sonata too, overcoming all of the difficulty and problems and ushering in a new hope for the last moment. This sonata was composed around 1801. However, the Tempest, the title not given by Beethoven himself, and he himself titled only one of his sonata is Hammerklavier Opus 106. The origin of the title comes from Beethoven's close friend. It refers mainly to the first and third movement, which capture the storm and calm, defining characters and emotions, and was inspired by the Shakespeare play of the same name. Like the most classical piano sonata, this work is in 3 movements, and all the movements are in sonata form, while the middle movement is a sonatina. Luckily, I had played this piece when I was very young, so I don't need to worry about the copyright. Let me use it and listen it. Just forgive me, I have lots of maybe mistake in this piece when I was performed. The first movement begins with a brief largo, not even a full 2 bars in length. It consists merely of an arpeggiated first inversion of the dominant triad before halting on a fermata. From there, the music launches into the Tempest, a brisk allegro in which the performer is required to show great variety in playing between the storm and all too brief moments of peacefulness. You can also see the largo sections return throughout the movement and greatly intended in the recapitulation. And the bar 7 to 41 is connecting episode. The connecting episode begins with a continuation of the first subject, ending on 4 close in the tonic key, bar 7 to 21, and after which a regular theme in D minor is introduced, the first 4 notes of which are based upon the figure represented by bar 1 and 2. They are repeated in the bass, 1 note rising by conjugate degrees from D to E, and the dominance of the key of the second subject from bar 41 to 63 is the second subject in A minor. The second subject is the dominant minor key instead of being in the relative major like F major. And in these 2 parts, bars 41 to 55 and 55 to 62, the rhythm of the first part is suggested in the allegro part of first subject. The bar 63 to 90 is a coda and developed from the second subject. And here, after repeat, from bar 93 is a message leading to the repeating of the exposition. And also a connecting passage between the exposition and the development. listen to the development of the first movement, and it begins with a recitative largo before that, and the greater part of the succeeding allegro is of the same character as the regular theme in the connecting episode, which is also formed upon like bars 1 to 2. After this recitative melody, we hear to the recapitulation, and from bar 149, and the first subject is in original key, and with 2 largo bars, followed by the rest of the subject as in the original. The connecting episodes begins for 2 bars as original notes. After this, however, it is of quite a different character. It gives place to a passage of 4 bars in F sharp minor and repeated in G minor and imitated and ending upon dominant harmony. And this second subject in D minor, tonic, at bar 195 to 198, it is thought that the limited compass instruments in Beethoven's time prevented a literal transposition of the passage. Bar 59 to 62. From bar 99, when the left hand became the succeeded 8th note, it's the coda of this first movement. Coda is extended. The last 12 bars consist of nothing but harmony of the tonic chord. It should be noted that the key of the relative major is not used once during the whole of the movement. The second movement is in the key of the B flat major. It begins like first movement with its opening rhotic chords. This adagio brings several motive elements from the previous movement, but recast them in a nobler manner. Of this first section from bar 1 to 17, it contains first 8 bars and the second 9 bars. From bar 17 to 30 is a connecting episode. The connecting episode commences with a 4-bar phrase in the tonic key and followed by a modulation to C major upon a pedal point with a characteristic fugue. Bar 30 to 38 is second subject in F major. After this lyric melody is development from bar 38, and from bar 38 to 43 it takes place of working out portion of the movement simply from a passage constituting a dominant harmony and dominant pedal point. You can say it's very short development and become the recapitulation. And another saying that the second movement is sonatina, which without the development. And recapitulation from bar 43 and is also in original key. The second section of this subject has a very elaborate variation in the bass. From bar 72 to 80 is a second subject in B flat major. The bar 80 till end is coda, formed from previous material, the passage being taken from bars 38 to 43, and the following passage, like bar 89 to 98, is from the first subject. The last 6 bars upon a tonic pedal point. The subdominant followed by tonic harmony, forming a plagial cadence which often occurs in codas in conjunction with tonic pedal. The last movement returns to the tonic key of D minor. It begins more gracefully than Tempest. However, the opening melody becomes more sonorous on its first repeating. If the first movement was the artist facing the hold of the fates, and the last movement is like the white joy of riding out of the reminder of storm, knowing that he was won the battle. The first subject from the beginning till the measure 32 is founded upon the initial figure out the 4 notes. In fact, the whole movement is constructed upon it, and the figured of 2 notes which commences the second subject. From bar 32 to 44, the 12-bar connecting episodes begins in D minor. The initial figure appears in the bass. At the bar 36, it modulates to C major, in which key it continues to bar 43, where by means of augmented 6 on F, it modulates to the chord of E major, dominant of A. Second subject in A minor, and instead of the key of the relative major. After the coda, we hear to the development. Like the Tempest, the sonata ends rather with quite D minor arpeggios. Perhaps it's not really the end, but merely leaving the artist of his fateful journey. For the recap, it's from bar 250 until 230 is first subject, is in original key. After that is connecting episode, with part of what was originally the concluding section of the first subject, and then modulates to B flat major. And the initial figure appears in the bass is in the key of B flat minor. From bar 244, it resembles the original episodes with harmonic changes. It ends upon the dominant chord. The second subject in D minor is from bar 272 to 296. It's literally transposed into the tonic key, excepting that in some bars the melody is slightly changed. The bar 296 till end is coda, also expanded like the first movement, and there is a dominant pedal point in the bass, which continues to bar 351. The first subject reappears, and bar 351 till 382. After a chromatic scale passage, the movement ends with a perfect cadence founded upon the initial figure rhythm.